Tota is just an average 14-year-old boy who has been living with his foster parent Yukihime for the past 2 years after his parents died in a village car crash outside Tokyo. All Tota dreams about, along with his friends, is to one day go to the capital and climb to the top of the orbital elevator. The only reason Tota wants to climb it is because a ghost of a man with red hair keeps appearing in front of him, telling him to meet him at the top of the tower. However, the village chief had put Yukihime in charge of them and placed a condition that they need to defeat her in combat to be allowed to leave the village. So every day, Tota and his friends try to gang up on Yukihime, but she always wins by using her magical powers. One day, Tachibana, their school teacher, approaches them all, acting friendly. He tells them that he has seen them trying their best against Yukihime and wants to help them out. He hands each of them an item, telling them that these are called magic apps that can allow them to use magic. Everyone excitedly starts practicing magic instantly. Tota, however, is unable to use magic at all. Tachibana tells him that it is okay because some people have no affinity for magic. He hands him a bracelet, telling him to give it to Yukihime as it will seal her powers for a bit. Tota excitedly runs home and hands Yukihime the bracelet over dinner. The next day, as Tota tries to run to the agreed-upon ambush point, his friends go ahead and teleport to Yukihime without him. As they begin their ambush, Yukihime is impressed with their ability to use magic and tries to defend herself, but her magic has been completely sealed. Suddenly, Tachibana appears and knocks all the kids out. He impales Yukihime with magic spears, telling her that he is an immortal hunter who has been in search of her for the past 6 months. Tota, who had finally reached Yukihime, sees that she is injured and tries to defend her, but gets his arm sliced off by Tachibana. Yukihime pushes through her restraints and tries to fight him, but Tachibana chops her to pieces. He then stabs Tota in the chest and proceeds to kill his friends to cover up the loose ends. Tota, who is barely conscious, hears Yukihime's voice telling him to drink her blood and protect his friends. Without any hesitation, Tota drinks her blood and becomes immortal. He then attacks Tachibana, taking him by surprise and knocks him out before falling unconscious himself. Upon waking up, he sees Yukihime crying, apologizing for cursing him with immortality, and tells him her real name, Evangeline, a vampire. Tota consoles her, saying he will get to spend eternity with her. Seeing that he is ready to leave the village, Yukihime sets out with Tota for the capital the very next day. Before he leaves, all of his friends tell Tota not to worry as they will meet again soon near the elevator. They start heading for the capital on foot since taking public transport will be dangerous. Seeing that Tota is excited to head to the capital and make new friends, Yukihime warns him not to get attached to mortals since he is immortal and it will only lead to regret. They stop for some rest at a bus stop with a waterfall nearby. Tota tells Yukihime that he is going for a dip and heads straight for the waterfall, where he accidentally runs into Kuromaru taking a bath. At first, Tota thinks that he is a girl after looking at his beautiful face, but Kuromaru knocks some sense into him for not having common decency. Tota decides to befriend Kuromaru despite his protests as they both head back to the bus stop. When Tota asks about him, Kuromaru tells him that he's from the orbital tower and that he has been outcast from his family, until he hunts down a certain vampire called the Dark Evangel. Yukihime suddenly appears, telling Tota that she found a hot spring nearby that they should visit. Before Tota can introduce Kuromaru, Kuromaru draws out his sword and attacks Yukihime, who easily blocks it. Kuromaru takes a step back and tells her that he is from a clan tasked with killing immortals like her and attacks Yukihime again, but she rips through Kuromaru's chest with her bare hands. After a brief moment, Kuromaru gets back up again, making Tota realize that he is an immortal as well. Yukihime laughs, telling Kuromaru that if he manages to beat Tota, she will fight him again. Kuromaru agrees to it and he and Tota begin to fight. No matter how much he tries, Kuromaru is unable to land a solid hit on Tota. He manages to slice Tota's head off, but Tota quickly grabs it mid-air and reattaches it, throwing him off. He then throws a single punch at Kuromaru, knocking him out. When Kuromaru wakes up, Tota tells him that he's going to be his friend since he won. He tells Kuromaru that he can travel with them as long as he likes and train under Yukihime until he is strong enough to challenge her again. Not having any other option, Kuromaru decides to join them. The three of them head off toward the capital again. Tota tells them both that he is thinking of starting an organization of immortals who volunteer to help people out, making Yukihime laugh. Suddenly, hundreds of cars appear before them. Men start to jump out of the car and quickly greet Yukihime for finally returning to them. Yukihime turns back to confused Tota and tells him that she and her friends already made such an organization called UQ Holder. As they head off to the UQ Holder base, one of Yukihime's subordinates, UQ number 4, Karen Yuki tells Yukihime that she has wasted the last 2 years looking after Tota and is angry that she shared her blood with him. Yukihime just blows off her rants and tells her to get along with him. When they finally reach the base, both Tota and Kuromaru are tasked with landing one hit on a member from Yuki Holder before they can officially join before sundown in 7 days. Kuromaru's opponent is Makabe, while Tota's is Karen. They both start instantly, but are too weak to fight against them. For the next few days, both Tota and Kuromaru try their best to fight against Makabe and Karen, while getting to know everyone else on the base, including Shinobu Yuki, a human maid, and Jinbei Shishido, UQ number 2, in an underground cave. Seeing that they are in need of help, Jinbei agrees to train them for a few days so they can hold up against the other members. Jinbei tells Tota that he needs a weapon and shows him the gravity sword, which is stuck in a rock, and tells him to try and take it. Tota tries to pull the sword out, but it does not move an inch. Seeing that someone has finally come to try and claim it, the sword tells Tota to turn the dial on its side to reduce its weight, making him easily pull it out. Jinbei gets mad at the sword for revealing its secret, but the sword tells him to shut up as he was bored. For the next few days, both Tota and Kuromaru train under Jinbei in the cave and nearly destroy it. On the last day before sunset, they both head off to fight one last time. While Kuromaru eventually lands his hit on Makabe, Tota still has some trouble fighting Karen. He switches the weight of his sword quickly and finally gets the upper hand when he hears Shinobu screaming for help. Tota, without any hesitation, leaves the fight and heads off to save her. When he reaches Shinobu, he notices that she is surrounded by monsters. Karen, who is right behind, tells Tota to take Shinobu and run while she holds off the monsters. Tota quickly grabs Shinobu and drops her on a rooftop before turning back to help Karen. He jumps straight down at the monsters, increasing the weight of the sword to its maximum. Tota hits the ground like a meteor, pulverizing all the monsters to dust and burying Karen beneath the rubble as well. When she finally manages to get out, Karen tells him that she will take this as his one hit. Yukihime, who is overseeing everything, congratulates them both for making it in. Their happiness is, however, short-lived when Yukihime punishes them, along with Jinbei, for making a giant hole in the underground cave during their training that allowed the monsters to escape. She orders them to go back down and not come to the surface until they have defeated every single monster living there. After successfully making it into Yuki Holder, Kuromaru and Tota are given their first assignments. They are to head out with Karen to the slums outside Tokyo as they have requested aid from them. After the formation of the elevator, only the elites have been able to live in the capital, while the poor were forced out of the city into slums. Since the land still belongs to other elite people, there is a danger that the slums might be burnt down. Tota joins Karen and Kuromaru in the slums where, after a match of arm wrestling, he is given the job of cooking meals for everyone. Karen tells Tota that to get stronger, the first thing he must learn is the flash step. As soon as he gets free, Tota heads out to learn about it when he runs into Kaido, an overly energetic person. After seeing him struggle for a bit, Kaido decides to teach Tada the flash step properly. He shows off his flawless technique to get Tota on board with him. He starts to give him pointers and teaches him how to only use his feet to do everything. Over the next few days, Tota does everything with his feet, from cooking to cleaning the dishes, even eating, improving at the flash step day by day. A few days go by and no attack has yet happened on the slums. As Tota heads out to hand food to the men on duty as usual, the ambush begins. The enemy uses puppets and starts to set the slums on fire. Karen, who is taking a bath, is suddenly ambushed by Chao, who uses his shadows to take her by surprise and tie her up. Meanwhile, Kuromaru and Tota, who are playing with a kid, get attacked as well. While Cho keeps Karen busy, Shien and Kaido in his beast form attack them both. Tota instantly recognizes Kaido, but before he can do anything, Kaido seals his powers completely. Seeing that he is all alone, Kuromaru tries to take them both on himself, but gets torn to pieces by Kaido. Cheva slowly starts to get close to tied up Karen. As soon as he is in range, Karen manages to kick him in the groin, making Chao let go of his shadow powers. She then proceeds to quickly knock him out before heading out to help the people and Tota. Meanwhile, Tota suddenly manages to break free of the ceiling curse and knock Kaido several paces away before he hurts more people. Tota looks at his arms and is shocked to see black armor covering them. Kaido gets up and starts to laugh. He tells Tota that it's encounters like this that he loves doing his job. Without any hesitation, he uses his flash step to punch Tota, but he does the same. They both lock into a fierce battle. Kaido is surprised that Tota was just a beginner a few days back, but now can keep up with him. However, Kaido manages to put his arm through Tota's chest, crushing his heart. A dark aura suddenly erupts around Tota, giving him immense power and taking over his mind. Shion instantly recognizes it as Naibi's power and tries to step in, but Karen suddenly appears and stops him. Tota forcefully starts to regenerate his heart. He grabs Kaido and throws him into a building. He then proceeds to get on top of him and crush him with punches. Kaido begins to laugh as he finally found an opponent worth dying from. Tota, however, manages to gain back control and stops himself from killing Kaido. When Kaido tells him to kill him, Tota tells him to shut up as he is not going to do it. Shion appears next to Kaido and tells him to give up as they have completed their mission. Suddenly, Yukihime appears with backup and uses her ice powers to subside the flames. Seeing that the Dark Evangel is there, Shion quickly opens a portal and escapes through it with Kaido. Kuromaru is in his room changing clothes when Karen suddenly walks in. He tries to quickly hide, but Karen manages to get a good look in his body. She invites him outside for a friendly battle. When they start fighting, Karen suddenly gets more aggressive and starts to question Kuromaru's gender. Kuromaru tries to avoid the subject but tells her the truth when he sees that she is not willing to budge. Kuromaru tells Karen that he is a demi-human and they are genderless till their 16th birthday. After that, they can decide to be either male or female. Karen's face lights up with an evil smile. She orders Kuromaru to choose female and get married to Tota so he doesn't get any closer to Yukihime. Kuromaru is astounded by her words and tries to protest, but Karen tries to use her strength to make him submit. UQ holder number 10, who was listening in on the conversation, tells Karen not to force her opinion on others. He walks up to them and suggests them an idea instead. He tells Kuromaru to use his female body and go on a date with Tota, after which he can decide what to do. Seeing that he has no other option, Kuromaru agrees. He dyes his hair blonde and changes into a female before meeting up with Tota. Kuromaru tells Tota that she is Koryu, Kuromaru's cousin, and wants to go sightseeing with him in the capital. Tota, who has nothing else better to do, decides to go along with her. Kuromaru spends the entire day with Tota as a girl in the capital. At the end of the day, they both decide to go to the orbital elevator. As soon as they reach the observation deck, Kuromaru notices Cho standing behind Tota, about to cut his throat. Tota immediately senses his presence and tries to fend himself, but Cho ties him up immediately and captures him in his shadow. Kuromaru tries to help Tota, but gets overpowered by another man who suddenly attacks him. Kuromaru decides that it doesn't matter if he's a boy or girl as long as he is Tota's friend. It is enough for him. He reverts to his male form, taking the enemy by surprise and manages to free Tota. The police start to arrive. Seeing that they are out of options, the attackers quickly flee. When Tota regains his senses, he asks Kuromaru about Koryu and he tells him that he teleported her somewhere safe when the attack began and that he does not have to worry about her. Kuromaru and Tota run into Karen, Iku, and Kiria UQ holder number 9 on their way back to headquarters from the capital. Tota quickly recognizes Kiria as she is the kid who is always playing in the sand. After Iku introduces her, Kiria asks Tota to have a private word with him. She takes him to an empty alleyway and tries to beat him up, saying that he failed to protect her 6 times, confusing Tota. He barely manages to say anything when Cho suddenly appears behind Kiria and slices her throat. Tota tries to chase after him, but Kiria stops him, telling him to grab her hand. As soon as he grabs her hand, Tota gets teleported back in time to the headquarters. She explains to him that she can revert time after dying and take anyone with her as long as she is touching them. She takes Kota, along with Karen and Iku, to the capital. Both Karen and Iku are confused to see Tota as he had just gone to the capital with Kuromaru. They both wait throughout the day, letting it play out as it should before finally entering the abandoned alleyway again. Just like before, Cho appears to kill Kiri, but this time Tota is ready. He uses the gravity blade like a bat, throwing Chao out of the city. Kiria tells Tota that he will be kidnapped. She tells him that in the original timeline after they met, there was an explosion at a subway station where Tota was captured by Fate Everunkus, one of the most powerful mages, while all others were killed. The others, who had followed Kiria and Tota, learn about what is going to happen and decide to help out. Kiria tells everyone that Yukihime had given them the order to capture Fate, as they know when and where he will appear. All they have to do is to get her close to him so she can touch him before she kills herself and takes him into a cell beneath headquarters. Everyone gets ready and sets up an ambush for Fate. As soon as he appears, Tota suddenly calls everyone to cancel the attack as his friends from the village are here and are right behind Fate. Tota suddenly gets a video message from Yukihime, telling him that Fate knows his grandfather, but he must not trust him at any cost. As Tota meets up with his friends from the village, Iku gets ambushed by Fate's maid. Fate casually walks up to Tota and takes his friends hostage, telling him to come with him or the lives of everyone here will be in danger. Tota thinks for a moment and starts shouting that this man has a bomb, making everyone at the station panic and run. Karen and Tota quickly jump at Fate. The maid, seeing Fate in danger, runs to his side, giving Iku a chance to fire the orbital cannon at Fate, but he blocks it with a barrier. Kuromaru, who is busy fighting more of Fate's men, tosses Kiria at Fate, but she turns into stone before she can kill herself. A timer appears on everyone's hands, telling them to stall Fate, making them realize that Kiria is trying to break the curse she's under. Karen takes Kiria and goes to help out Kuromaru. Meanwhile, Iku tries to keep the maid busy so that Tota can keep Fate busy. Tota manages to grab Fate and Kiria's hand as soon as the timer runs out, signaling everyone to get in. Fate has no time to react, and the next thing he knows is that he is in a cave under Yuki's holder with Yukihime standing in front of him. Fate assesses his situation and tells Yukihime that his odds are not that great for taking them all on, so he will give them each one question in return for his safe release. Iku asks the first question. He asks why he needs Tota. Fate tells him that he wants to use him to save his great-grandfather, Nagi Springfield, who is still alive, shocking Tota, as Yukihime told him that he died 20 years ago. Next, Kuromaru asks if saving Nagi is a matter of utmost importance that needs to be done right away. Fate is surprised by his intelligent question and tells him that it can wait. Tota is next. He asks if Fate killed his parents 2 years ago, and he tells him that he did, making him get mad with anger. Suddenly, a hologram of Negi appears, surprising everyone. He begins to directly communicate with Tota. He tells him that Fate isn't telling the truth. Yukihime tells Kuromaru telepathically that there is something on Tota that is letting this hologram appear. She orders him to quickly destroy it. Kuromaru quickly moves behind Tota and breaks a small rune that is on his shoulder, destroying the hologram. Tota has so many questions. He keeps following Yukihime around, asking her about her grandfather, but she does not have the heart to tell him. Yukihime locks herself in her office so does not have to face him anymore. After a while, Ayaka, an old school friend of Yukihime, pays her a visit along with her maid and great-granddaughter Mizure. As Mizure runs off to find Tota and face him about his perverted father after the stories he heard from her grandmother, Ayaka sits down with Yukihime to catch up. She is surprised at how young she still looks despite taking aging pills to look old. They laugh over old stories of how everyone used to throw themselves at Negi Springfield, Tota's grandfather, despite him being just 10 years old. Yukihime tells Ayaka about the hologram she saw of Negi. She tells her that he was taken by the Mage of the Beginning, 20 years ago on Mars. Ayaka tells her that she understands that Tota is growing up and now looking for his own journey, and that she is afraid that he might leave her. She tells her to cheer up and make the most of every moment. Later that day, Yukihime finally gets the courage to talk to Tota. She tells him to come to the docks at sunset and meets him there in her original, younger form, where she tells him the truth. She tells Tota that 20 years ago, his grandfather helped save humanity from an immortal mage who ended up possessing his body. For 20 years, he has persevered and is holding off complete takeover, but she's afraid that he might have reached his limit. Both she and Fate are looking for ways to save him, but their methods differ. She also tells him that 2 years ago, a clone of Nagi called Tota Kono was created. Tota was sulking in his room after finding out that he is a clone when Kuromaru cheers him up, saying that even though he is a clone, he is still Tota. Later that day, Tota visits the capital with everyone else where a martial arts tournament is being held. He tries to sign up, but the applicants are already full. He decides to look around the festival with Mizure when Ayaka calls him out and takes him to the school where his father used to teach them. He enters the school and meets with a ghost named Seo and with Mana. They barely get to chat when Mana gets a call that 2 contestants have dropped out. Since one seat was already taken, Mana allows Tota to fight. Tota enters the tournament where his opponent is Tina. Tota looks forward to a clean game, but Tina appears oddly bloodthirsty. She easily overpowers Tota and pins him to the ground using magical spears. Suddenly, Negi appears in front of Tota. Before he can lay a hand on him, Yukihime destroys the barrier around the arena and drops in with Kuromaru, Kiria, and Karin to help him out. Yukihime tells everyone to be on guard as Negi is not alone. Yui and Nodoka are with him along with Jack Reiken, all of whom formidable opponents. Yui tries to lure Tota to Negi's side, telling him that he is just a clone that was created for Negi's sake and his life is not his own. There have been other clones as well, but only he has been somewhat successful. Before Tota can reply, a portal appears behind him and he gets sucked into it. When he opens his eyes, Tota is greeted by Ima, the creator of the Gravity Sword. He tells Tota that he is Yukihime's old friend, but he is helping Negi now and his role is to convince him to join them. Ima starts to show Tota memories of Yukihime. He shows him how she first met Nagi, who saved her life. After that, she kept following him around everywhere as she was in love with him. 15 years later, she met Nagi's son Negi at the academy in the capital and fell in love with him as well. Yukihime's happy memories suddenly disappear as the mage of the beginning manifests in front of Tota. Ima suddenly impales to stop him from moving, but Tota still manages to grab Yukihime's hand, making her real self enter the dream realm as well. After Yukihime gets her bearings, they both try to fight the mage of the beginning, but she starts to overpower them. She conjures mirages of both Negi and Nagi, throwing Yukihime off her game. Tota is creeped out by her and tells her that she's a fast little woman going after the whole generation of the family. Yukihime snaps at him, telling him that she has only loved 3 men in 700 years, and that makes her look quite faithful, creeping Tota out even more. Suddenly, the memory dream world gets blown away by Asuna, Tota's grandmother. Yukihime is shocked to see Asuna there as she should be on Mars. Asuna tells her that part of her consciousness was inside Tota, and she slipped out when the maid tried to twist it. He tells her not to worry as her real body is still on Mars. Tota looks at the ground and sees Kuromaru, Kiria, and Karin lying there as well. Asuna grabs everyone's attention and tells them that only 0.62 seconds have passed in the real world. Before she sets all of them free, she's going to tell them the weaknesses of every opponent they are about to face outside. She quickly casts a barrier to stop the mage from listening in and explains to everyone what they need to do. She also tells Tota to hold off Nagi for 37 seconds, after which the dormant power inside N will manifest. Asuna tears the dream with a single swing of her sword, and they quickly set their plan into motion, targeting everyone according to their weaknesses. As the others keep the enemies at bay, Tota heads straight for Negi, but he disappears and attacks Tota from behind. Tota tries to hold off his attacks but fails to do so. Suddenly, Fate appears to lend Tota a hand along with Yukihime. They use magic to pull Negi's soul out for a brief moment and converse with him. Fate quickly tells Negi that he is looking for a way to help him out and bring immortality to the entire world. Negi laughs, saying that for him to do that he will still need to kill him first, as the mage of the beginning is a part of him now and she feeds off the souls of the dead. Negi barely has a word with Yukihime and Tota when suddenly their souls collapse back into the arena. The mage of the beginning unleashes all of Negi Springfield's power. He instantly takes down Fate and Yukihime. Tota releases all of his powers as well, as 37 seconds have passed but is still no match for him. Negi impales Tota with spears, rendering him unable to move. Just as he is about to kill him, Kiria jumps in front of Tota, making Negi stop in his tracks. Nodoka tells Kiri that they know she can revert time after she dies, completely throwing her off. Tina quickly grabs Kiria and starts to slowly rip out her teeth, each one with a pill of poison in it. Tota, seeing Kiria screaming in pain, tries to pull the spear out of his body. Suddenly, runes appear on the arena floor, teleporting both Tota and Negi into another dream world. Tota opens his eyes and sees all of Negi's students standing next to him, ready to lend him his aid. Negi tries to fight all of them, but is unable to overcome them all. Eventually, Asuna manages to break through to him, telling him to fight a little longer as they are trying to figure out a way to help him. Negi listens to her words and stops the attack. Both Negi and Tota return to the real world along with Asuna. Asuna thanks Nodoka and Yui for sticking with Negi for the past 20 years, as that kept him sane. Before he takes everyone away with him to Mars, Negi turns to Tota and tells him that it is not over. Tota, who is already raring to go despite being unable to move, tells him to wait as he will get stronger and come after him. Negi smiles, telling Tota that he will be waiting for him at the top of the orbital elevator. Later, Tota tries to confess his love to Yukihime, but instead of "I love you too," he receives a punch in the face, breaking the poor guy's heart. The end.